This isn't your mama's SEC. It's a new group of coaches. It's a new group of players. But one thing hasn't changed, Josh Tech, as we explore the SEC here on their first day of the early sign-in period. Kentucky still sitting at the top. I'm Justin Young. Like I said, he's Josh Tech. We're talking about the entire conference here. Let's start with those Wildcats, man. They don't go away. They're always at the top.
That's not surprising, is it? No, they're always going to be at the top. It doesn't matter who the coach is, John Calipari or someone else. Kentucky's always going to be at the top of the SEC. They're just a powerhouse. They're a blue blood program. They're always going to invest in basketball.
If he's not there, are you trying to break some news here?
No, but it's just, when you could date back their recruiting successes dated back to previous coaches, and it'll continue, beyond.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Big Blue Nation certainly has some value that a lot of schools would only dream of. Let's talk about them for a second if we can. Yep. Justin Edwards leads the charge. They're number 3 overall player in the country. Aaron Bradshaw, our number 8 overall player in the country. 2 players in our top 10 overall headed to Lexington. On top of that, you got Robert Dillingham, who's number 14. Then you got Reed Shepard, who's number 38 overall. I mean, that's a stellar class. Number 2 overall in the country as the first day of the early signing period opens up.
That's funny because, that class is so loaded that, when you mentioned Aaron Bradshaw, I was like, oh, crap, I forgot that they got Aaron Bradshaw. When you mentioned Reed Shepard, I was like, oh, crap, I forgot they got Reed Shepard. It's just one of those things where it's just kind of oh, and they could add more.
Yeah, they could. DJ Wagner is certainly a guy that we're keeping our eyes on. Really, really close. So that'll change things. If he joins Kentucky, do they supersede Duke and become the number 1 recruiting class in the country? I think they have to.
Yeah, that would put them at having 3 top 10 guys, correct? I believe.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it definitely would. I'm looking at we have a really, should I show how the donuts are made? This will be really, really fast. I'll be really, really fast. This is our secret algorithm. I just showed them. That's how we come
now they know the secrets. But yeah, with this Kentucky class, they've had insane classes before, but this has to I don't know where this ranks in the pantheon of great Kentucky classes, but it's got to be somewhere,
Well, okay, I actually like that. Let's talk about that for a second. So, is it though? Do they have bona fide pros, bona fide all-stars? Are any of these guys all-stars? Justin Edwards an all-star, Aaron Bradshaw an all-star, Robert Dillingham an all-star in the NBA?
See, I don't know if they have bona fide all-stars right off the rip, but I think that this class, it could be what John Calipari wins with long-term, because he always does well when he has a little bit of experience. And a couple of these guys will go one and done and all of that, but I think a couple of these guys will stay and help build that program and become those stalwarts that, usher him to the highest levels that he can get to.
I think here, okay, so Devin Booker didn't start on his team when he was at Kentucky, right? So
right.
So to use that context, I don't know if this is one of his best classes overall. It's one of the best classes in the country this year on a class, comparatively speaking, to over the last decade or so, is really not that great of a class per se. Now, we have a lot of different factors in there now too, right? We've got the G League, we've got Overtime Elite, we've got guys that aren't going to go play in college, okay? Like the Shaden Sharp experience, we have guys like that may go to college but don't play. And sorry, Kentucky fans, I don't mean to bring up a bad subject there. He's really good, by the way. So comparatively speaking, I don't know if I agree with that, Josh, if they are one of those good teams, which is totally fine. That's the take. But I think it's I can't say that on the pod. That would be really mean. But it's a good but not great class, comparatively speaking,
Right. I just think whenever you have 3 top 10 guys, I think that's just one of those you got to think about it, right? I'm not saying it's their best class, but I'm saying it could be number 5 out of John Calipari's most recent classes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, we have peaks and valleys, right? We have some great years, tons of depth, and some years just okay, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's fine. Is this a group, though, for Kentucky that helps them win a national title as freshmen?
That's tough because every year you can kind of look at that. Even this year, you can kind of look at that and be like, yep, this group has the talent to do it. They just got to go out and do it. So, yeah, I mean, this every Kentucky class, this group does have the talent to go out there and win a national championship. They just got to go do it. And I think, having some more experienced guys around them will help in that regard.
I think you inadvertently actually brought up a great point at the very beginning on whether or not this is the beginning of the end of John Calipari in Lexington too.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, like again, they got great players, right? Potentially 3 of the top 10 guys in the class, but we've kind of felt that the end is coming more towards the forefront in that
Yeah.
era, right? Like you kind of sense it. I mean, listen, Big Blue Nation does not give a crap about what happened yesterday, right? They're
No.
only believing in what can happen tomorrow. That's a really hard place, no matter who you are, no matter the talent you've brought in over those the last decade. That's hard to maintain and satisfy expectation every single season. And you kind of feel like the ice is getting a little thinner every single year, which is absurd to me. Like if you have John Calipari at the head of your program, boy, you write that check, you convince him to stay until he's 98 years old. Okay,
Yep.
I don't care where you're at. You should be lucky that guy's your coach.
Absolutely.
Okay? So, but it does feel like maybe this is the end where the game's changing. I mean, listen,
Right.
Krzyzewski left, Jay Wright left, Roy Williams left. Like all these guys, like, listen, man, it's a new era. And John Calipari, okay, like he's at the back end of his great career. Where I do
Yeah,
want
it's the twilight years for sure.
No doubt.
One guy that's going to outlast everybody. Sorry to derail you, is Jim Boeheim. I think that guy's just going to hang on till he can't hang on any longer.
No doubt. You kind of you get you're like a dinosaur that gets frozen in the ice up there in Syracuse. You can last a little bit longer in those cold weather states. So, but listen, we talk a lot about Kentucky, or a lot of things that I didn't anticipate us talking about. I like the thought. I like this class for the number 2 overall class in the country. I don't really love it. That's just kind of my take. So I'm sure if you want to email me, Kentucky fans, it's jyoung@hoopseen.com. You can send all your nasty notes to me. It wouldn't be the first time in my career. So, but what's interesting though, Josh, let's look at the SEC. Okay. Let's talk about this new coach. Okay. Florida's got a new coach in Todd Golden. Mississippi State's got a new coach in Chris Jans. LSU's got a new coach in Matt McMahon. Arkansas, I mean, Eric Musselman's been there. He's not really new. Lamont Paris is new at South Carolina. Jerry Stackhouse, relatively new at Vanderbilt. Mike White, new at Georgia, not new to the SEC. Old Miss, Kurt Davis has been there enough. Dennis Gates, Mizzou. Okay. Nate Oates, relatively new at Alabama. And then really like Rick Barnes and John Calipari, and I'm probably forgetting somebody else along the way. But like, what's that? Oh, Bruce Pearl. Yeah, certainly. So like so many new guys into this conference that's really been really strong for basketball recruiting. Does the league now take on like a different flavor? Like, Bruce got the job at Auburn, like all of a sudden, like Auburn out of nowhere became like this powerhouse in recruiting, and they landed a guy in Jabari Smith, and Walker Kessler played there. So many guys, like so many things changed when that happened. Florida's kind of taken a little bit of a lull. I don't know. Like, do we feel like the conference as a whole is shifting the way the power goes overall within the conference?
It's interesting. That's an interesting point you bring up. Like when I think of the SEC, I don't think of Todd Golden. So I wonder, like, a move like that, like how does he fit the SEC? Does that mean that the SEC is going to change? All I know is the SEC is really investing in getting some great coaches, and that list you like named, that's got to be among some of the best coaches in the country.
Yeah, it is. Some of the best up and coming guys too. So
for sure.
We talked a lot about Arkansas. They're new blood. Certainly, they've landed some great players over the last class. Current freshman Nick Smith, Anthony Black, just to name a few. Certainly keep our eyes open on Bay Fall. Is he going to be another 5-star guy that joins them? But like you look at Arkansas, they got a really good point guard, Layden Blocker. Only one commitment though right now. So like they're a program that we're going to keep our eyes on.
I can promise you that's not going to last. That one commitment's not going to last. They've been crushing it in recruiting over there.
Well, and they crush in transfers too.
Yeah.
In fact, like we're going to see like this whole transfer portal come back down to earth, right? Because you had essentially two classes plugged into 1 year, right? Yeah. So you had this overflow of players, and so supply didn't meet demand, or demand didn't meet supply, and so or demand. I was never good at economics.
That's why we're talking and writing and not doing economics.
Yeah, exactly. So like when you look at the league, where Arkansas did a tremendous job of landing transfers to then turn that success into landing high school prospects, right?
Yep.
Like I think that's pretty important. So the league interesting to see like how it all plays out. A team that I've been pretty impressed by so far is Nate Oates and what they've been able to do. They've landed some really good players. They're always going to be in contention for a pro, right?
Yep.
Like I look at Herb Jones. I know Nate Oates wasn't the guy that recruited him, and I know, anyways. But you find like guys like Herb Jones that come out of a program like Alabama, and I actually think they've got a guy, believe it or not, on their roster now. And like, let me run through their guys. They got Muhammad Diabate, they've got Sam Walters, Devin Cosby, and R.J. Johnson. If you heard that list, if you saw that list, you saw where any of those guys were ranked, you probably don't think to yourself, oh, there's probably a pro in there. But I actually think there might be a guy in that class that's a pro. Any guesses of who I think that pro might be?
I think it's going to be a guy from the South, but why don't you go ahead and spill the beans?
I mean, I think it's Sam Walters. I don't think I'm super crazy to think that he can be a pro. Okay. First of all, let's walk it back a little bit. Okay. 6'10", so positional size, like can put the ball on the floor. The guy can absolutely stroke it from three. Okay. He knows how to put the ball on the floor, attack the rim. Every year he gets bigger. Every year he gets a little stronger. He's pretty thin. Okay. That's going to be the big knock on him. But that shooting touch is feathery, bro. And so then you look at this group, you got R.J. Johnson, who probably right out of the gate probably isn't going to see a lot of time, but he's an aggressive rim attacker that collapses the defense where he can kick it out. Okay. Super athletic. Devin Cosby is one of those guys. You got Diabate kind of holding things down, relieves Walters a little bit of freedom within this class to go do some things. But that shooting touch and that size, if you look at the NBA is every roster's got a dude like this guy. Okay. That's big and that's long that can shoot. It's all the ingredients are there to be a guy that if you're an NBA team, you've got to make sure you make your way through Tuscaloosa to get some eyes on him now as a freshman to really chart him moving forward to see where he goes moving forward. But I like him a lot. We have him where do we have him? Number 64 overall in the class, which is miles ahead of the competition that we have.
Well, with that, Nate Oates' best teams at Alabama have been with 3-point shooters. Like he succeeds at the three or at the rim, right? He's that kind of shot tracker where it's all shots in the paint or shots beyond the perimeter. So a guy like Sam Walters could really fit in that program really well.
Nate Oates is a guy that has spent a lot of time going to a lot of NBA practices, believe it or not, and really spending some time watching how they run their offense. A really, really smart guy. And a group, again, the new bloods in the SEC. He's got a little time there, obviously, in Tuscaloosa. But right now, currently, the first day of the early signing period, Alabama, for us, is our number 2 overall class in the SEC. Were you about to say something, Josh?
Yeah, so you've said it now twice. You said the key word now twice. It's kind of triggered something in my mind. You've said new bloods twice. We've got a pair of new bloods that are joining the SEC from the program that coined that term, right? Florida State was kind of the first program to start really using the new bloods term. And we got Dennis Gates and Charlton Young over there at Missouri now.
Yeah, I mean, great coaches, great dudes, great recruiters. They know how to identify. And one thing I'll say, there's nobody better in the country, truly, I believe this, that develops pros at that wing or big position than Leonard Hamilton and his staff. Both of those guys came up through there. The NBA is filled with guys that played at Florida State that are really making an impact, that can shoot. I'm with you. It'd be really interesting to see. Mizzou, listen, man, that is a hoops school.
For sure.
Okay? Hoops school in a really good area that you can recruit a lot of really great places. I would argue that Missouri, because they're in the SEC, you can still get guys from St. Louis, okay? You can still go up to Chicago and get guys, but you can also go down to Memphis and get a dude. You can go to Atlanta and get a dude. You can go up to Ohio to get a dude. I mean, there's so many areas that you can go recruit from. You go down to Dallas because you've got brand equity that's spent down in the state of Texas because of their years in the Big 12. Okay. Like there's so much brand equity all over the country. Now you throw in a guy like Dennis Gates who can really coach. Now you throw in a guy like Charlton Young who knows everybody in the country. Really interesting to see where they go. They've got a pretty good class. They really do. They've got number 4 class overall. We got a lot of schools that are kind of like all clumped together right in the middle right now.
It's a big jumble right now.
I
think it's going to shake out as the week progresses.
Well, 2 guys that I think potentially could be pretty good. Jordan Butler, a guy that we've seen before. They coached their big brother down in Florida State, okay? You got Trent Pierce, who's now here at AZ Compass Prep, who's really interesting. I've seen quite a bit in practice. Then you got Anthony Robinson, a really speedy point guard. A pretty good trio to work with. Mm-hmm. Of those 3 guys, somebody of that group is going to be way better than where they're ranked now in high school.
Yeah, that's the Florida State way, right? Like with those 2 guys, I think they're going to carry that over to Mizzou. They're going to get those guys who, they're ranked okay. There may be like 4 stars, maybe like top 75 guys, but not top 20 guys. But then they're going to evolve, and by the time they're sophomores, they're going to be like, oh my god, this guy's a lottery pick. Where did he come from?
I'm with you. I think that's going to happen quite a bit across the league over the next couple of years with a lot of these guys. You said it's interesting. I don't think about the SEC and I don't think about Todd Golden in the same place. I think Todd Golden could be sitting on a gold mine down in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really sharp guy. He was a Bruce Pearl guy, was with Bruce early on in his career. I was a great success in San Francisco, a guy that I'm really paying close attention to it. But let's pivot to Bruce Pearl for a second.
Okay.
There's no player from Georgia on this recruiting class right now. Now they've got a good one, Aiden Holloway, really good point guard, tremendous point guard. But there's nobody from the Atlanta area,
which is funny because
Bruce Pearl's owned Atlanta.
That's what I was gonna say. It's kind of the running thing where it's like if Bruce Pearl's in the gym, it's he's gonna get a kid from Atlanta. It's like it just seemed like he built this pipeline. It almost seemed like he pretty much put a wall around the city. But yeah, it is weird for them to not have a guy from the area right now.
I thought for sure, like when Stephen Castle committed to UConn so early, that's the type of guy that Bruce Pearl's always been able to go get at Auburn. So It's interesting to see, like, if there's another guy coming up out of Atlanta that kind of rises up on the back half of the season, that maybe Bruce Pearl and his staff jump in there and go recruit. But now they got to fight off Mike White and his staff at Georgia. They're out in Athens. They're doing a pretty good job. They got a guy that we love in Mari Jordan. Okay. They've got a guy from the state of Florida they've already pulled up and Dylan James. So I think there's some things that are moving in the right direction there at Georgia. But like my question to you, Josh, is this. Like we both have been in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta for 25 years. I hear this all the time. Anytime there's a new coach, it's a sleeping giant. And I would argue, at what point are you no longer a giant? Like, are you no longer a giant? You've had great coaches come through there. And I'm not saying this to slight the gig. I'm not saying to slight Athens. I'm not slighting this to slight UGA. I'm not. But, like, the reality is you go across the street, you got a big-time football program that produces nothing but pros and nothing but wins on Saturdays, okay? That is the lifeblood of really the entire state of Georgia, really the lifeblood of, well, I would say the South, but there's a guy named Nick Saban doing some great things at Alabama. But, like, it is the thing that people care about universally in the state of Georgia, okay? And basketball will be and will always be, I think, the maybe third or fourth or fifth most important thing that people do in Athens.
Truly. Yeah, for sure. And I think you can take that even further and expand that to Atlanta too. I mean, it's not like Georgia Tech's out here like lighting it up on recruiting either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, part of it, people ask, like, and this is going to sound so dumb, but if you sat in traffic for more than 30 minutes in Atlanta traffic, you understand the absolute horrendous pain that comes with sitting in Atlanta traffic. To get to Athens from Atlanta, particularly like if you're in Cobb County, like where Wheeler is, or McEachern, or some of these like high-level basketball programs, or heck, even Norcross, which is kind of like a north-central metro Atlanta, to get to from any of those places, like on a Tuesday night, to go to a game for a 7 o'clock tip-off, forget about it.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's impossible. So it's really hard for people to get out there. I'm not making excuses, but that's why I like this commitment of Mari Jordan to stay there, a local guy that's at Norcross. Okay, it started at Decula. I do think Mike White's going to get some pretty good players to come up from Florida. Mike White's a great coach, honest guy. He's going to get good players to come in there. But I still have some concerns whether or not Georgia really is what people think on the outside. That's this big-time job. They're like, oh, my God, why aren't they better than what they are? It just doesn't have – it never has had the brand equity or brand value within the city of Atlanta that you think that it might, you know? I hope I'm wrong, but that's, to me, I don't know if that'll ever change.
The one good thing that Mike White does have is he does have ties to Florida, which is a basketball hotbed. There's always talent out of Florida. And then he does now have the ties to the Atlanta area, which is also, pretty filled with basketball. So if he gets the right guys in there, he could turn it into something better than what it is right now. But you're right. Like I don't know that it is going to be turned into a quote unquote giant, but it could turn into a once every 4 years, once every other year kind of NCAA tournament team.
Well, you can be relevant. You can get a pro, okay,
right.
which we've seen them do, okay. So you've got, obviously Anthony Edwards is kind of the anomaly, but like Mark Fox did a great job. People can say what they want, but Contavious Caldwell-Pope, tremendous player at UGA, okay, like made a great career for himself. Like every staff can go get guys and go be a pro. Like I think that's part of the thing. I think if you win 20 games, you have a pro at UGA, like that's a win. I really do. That's a good win. Another staff or another school that's under a new regime that's going to be changing a little bit, that's LSU. LSU has had guys that have how do I say this? Done whatever it takes to go get superstars. Okay, done whatever it takes to go get superstars.
Strong offers.
Strong offer. Okay. And now you got a guy like Matt McMahon, who never once had a nationally rated guy at Murray State, that all he did was win 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 games every single year that he was there. He never really recruited off of the shoe circuits. Okay. So now you take a guy that had tremendous success of developing and cultivating a great culture at Murray State. Now you take him to Baton Rouge, which is a whole different universe. Okay. Whole different universe. These aren't even conversations that they've even had, any of their guys on their staff. Okay. Well, that's not true. They've got guys on their staff, but Matt McMahon's never been in position. He's been at App State and he's been at Murray State. Never once been at the high major level. I love Matt McMahon. I think he's a tremendous coach, tremendous recruiter, tremendous human being. He's going to do great things, but such a significant shift in the way things are done at LSU basketball that I'm really, really fascinated to see what happens at that school, who they go after. I mean, they've got a good one now, local kid, and Corey Chess, the guy that we saw with Fleur de Lis, played with us at Bob Gibbons 16U 2 years ago, I guess it was. He's going to get good players because that state always produces players, and Mississippi always produces players. You go get players in Texas. Obviously, there's some cachet there. You say, oh, well, I coached John Morant, right? Like John Morant, to me, I think is going to be an MVP in the NBA during his time when Matt McMahon's at LSU. But I'm really, really interested in seeing the Matt McMahon fingerprint get put on LSU, a program that has always had a strong-ass offer to go get whatever they want to get done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm really interested. What I'm interested to see, you said he's a culture builder. So I'm interested to see what he can do with, 5-star talents, with high 4-star talents, while still instilling that culture. Sometimes it doesn't always go well from coaches that make the jump up, but I think Matt McMahon's the guy that can do that. He can make that jump up and can, succeed.
The question that I'm going to have is who's going to be the true top 50 guy that LSU goes? Who's the first one, right? Like when's the first domino that's going to get tipped over? Very interested to see who that's going to be and when that's going to happen. So, man, the SEC's low. There's so many different areas I want to go with this. Really good class for Ole Miss. They're sitting at number 5 overall within the conference. A couple local guys they got on their team. Josh Hubbard, a player that we like a lot, number 118. Rashad Marshall, number 120. Pretty good class there. Really interested to see what happens in South Carolina. South Carolina isn't a school. Obviously, you got Gigi Jackson there now. That's going to maybe shift some stuff around. I think they've got some pretty interesting players coming to town. And Colin Murray Boyles, that's now at Wasatch Academy, an in-state guy that's at prep school. We talked about Auburn. We talked about LSU. Any other thought? Oh, we haven't talked about Tennessee. How can I forget about Tennessee?
Yeah, we're going to get yelled at by our folks over at Rocky Top, Andre Whitehead.
Well, talk to me about that class. What do you like about that class? You got 3 guys within the top 110. JP Estrella, number 33 overall, kind of leading the charge.
That's a guy that I really love. I think he can develop into a really good player at Tennessee. I love his ability to shoot the ball, put the ball on the floor. As a big, he's a big guy that can do a lot of things. And I think that's the kind of guy that Rick Barnes is going to have success with.
We've kind of gone all over the place with this SEC pod, but in a way, that kind of feels like what the SEC is now.
That feels like the SEC. So I feel like this pod is the SEC.
I think so too. Be interested to see what happens. Again, we're keeping our eyes on DJ Wagner, what his decision is going to be. We think it's going to be Kentucky, which obviously would put Kentucky at number 1 overall. Maybe I'll change my opinion. Maybe I'll put that class up there with some of the better classes that they've had over the years, but we'll see. Definitely see. A lot to talk about, a lot to think about. Leave some comments below here on YouTube. If this is where you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you're also a subscriber to HoopSeen.com. You can join us on Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, the Carolinas. We got you covered. For our insiders, our editors do a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous job every single day. So make sure you give us a subscribe over there as well. Get all the rankings and news and notes and notebooks and all the great things that come with our HoopSeen.com content. So for Josh Tec, I'm Justin Young. We appreciate you watching the SEC scope here on the early signing period for the class of 2020.